Hey guys, this is Greg at Northminster. Continuing our hike through the book of John. We're in chapter 9 right now. Just so happens, it feels like there's 5 sections, maybe 5 paragraphs. I don't always agree with where the paragraphs are, but that feels like 5 days of time with God, devotional time with God, figuring out how it is we're supposed to live in this age of coronavirus, where everything is turned upside down. All the things we counted on, all the things we hoped for, all the things that filled our cup are, well, they're just gone or changed or something like that. But God hasn't disappeared. And the church is still here. And we are still here, called to live at the intersection of faith and fear. Called to continue to be a witness in this community and in this world. Called to bring hope to the blind. So chapter 9 is all about this blind man's encounter with Jesus and the change that he brings to his life. Not all of it good. And so that's how it still is. Jesus changes us, and not all of it is easy. I want to change I said not all of it good. All of it is good, but not all of it is easy. And so this first day, why don't you focus on that first section, let's call it 1 through 7, where Jesus meets this blind man on a Sabbath and heals him by making mud and wiping it on the blind man's eyes and telling the blind man to go and wash it off. When he did, he could see. It created a stir. But I wonder if it's about more than just 2 individuals. See, I wonder if we're all that blind man, every one of us, born blind, born begging for scraps. And Jesus, our Savior, comes to us and raises us out of the dirt and shows us how to see. I think it's about more than just a blind man. Light is a word that occurs a lot in John. The Greek word is phos or photos, and where we get the word image or photo. It's there a lot. It's a lot in chapter 1. It's a lot in chapter 3. Then we see it again. I wrote it down in 5, 8, and 9. It's just a really common word. And you got to wonder why John, because the other Gospels don't use that description very much. Matthew does, once, I know of. But why does John repeatedly bring up light? So as you answer the first question that we always deal with, what does this passage tell me about God? I want you to ask the question, in what sense is Jesus the light of the world? In what sense are we all blind without him? In what sense has he changed the way we see everything? So really get down and dirty with that first question and grapple with that. How is he light to you? How were we blind without him? What has he made you, allowed you to see that you couldn't see before? This blind man is one of my heroes. I'm going to talk more about that in a couple days, but he's a neat guy. I want to meet him. But anyway, tomorrow you can go through the next passage, which is 8 through 17. And in verse 16 of that passage, we see the Pharisees who begin this interrogation of this blind man. They have a litmus test for who Jesus is. And it all comes back to what they care about most, which is the Sabbath. And Jesus does this healing on the Sabbath. And he does it kind of actively, makes mud. And commentators think that mud making is the sin. The healing is lost in the mud making. What a tragedy is that. So much is lost when we have litmus tests. So I'd like you to ask, as you do your 5 questions, also add this one. What litmus test are you tempted by? What one question do you want to know the answer to that decides whether you trust someone or not? I think litmus tests always fail us. You know, all they are is those little strips of yellow paper. And they turn blue if it's acidic and red if it's alkaline, or the reverse. I can't remember. I just remember in kind of that first chemistry class I had this litmus paper. And we do that with each other. So what is it for you? What do you look for to box people up in a neat category? It's not helpful. It wasn't helpful for the Pharisees. It won't be helpful for us as the church. So let's get to know people as they are. The wonderful, fearful creation of God, made in the image of God. Let's have fun as we look to one another in that way. Take care. We'll see you in a couple days.
We gotta get. We can't use this shirt.